Titan Quest II brought back my love for the ARPG genre. Even though at the time of recording this video the game hasn't been released yet, it has already managed to draw me in and spark my interest in its world. I've played many ARPGs such as Grim Dawn, the Diablo series, Last Epoch, Torchlight, Path of Exile, Wolcen, and many others. Lately it's been hard for me to truly focus on games like this, to dive into the story, listen to all the dialogues, carefully study every skill, to create an interesting build, and even read item stats. Somehow Titan Quest II managed to pull me back into the genre and I found myself thoroughly exploring absolutely everything the early version of the game had to offer. While I was playing, I couldn't shake the feeling of a true fantasy adventure. It didn't feel like I was doing something pointless. I wanted to explore every corner of this world, fight every monster, examine the loot and try out all the skills. In other games, there was always this sense that leveling felt like a job and that once I reached maximum level I'd have to commit to a long grind and meticulously study every skill tree just to create something worthwhile. Of course, things might change in the end game. Right now only a small portion of the game is available, but based on what I've played, I feel like this game has a strong chance of success. When playing Diablo 4 or Last Epoch, I often had the feeling that I was logging in as if it were a second unpaid job. I kept jumping between games mostly just to get at least some dose of enjoyment and to complete all the seasonal tasks for cosmetic rewards. Yes, these games are great in their own way, but I never really felt a sense of adventure, even when I played them for the first time. Maybe in Titan Quest II the graphics, controls and beautiful abilities also played a positive role. The optimization here isn't perfect of course, but that's not what this is about. When I first launched Titan Quest II everything felt extremely familiar, but after leveling up a couple of times, it reignited something I thought I had lost. Even in such an early version when it had just appeared on Steam, Titan Quest II managed to impress me with its distinct atmosphere and visuals. The world feels handcrafted. You can notice how each corner is different and doesn't simply repeat itself. Instead of recycled dungeon corridors or caves, it truly feels like the developers put significant effort into the environment. The day and night cycle also makes the world feel more alive and dynamic, allowing you to see the same locations from a different perspective. On top of that, inspired by ancient Greek mythology, the game truly feels like a real place, yet at the same time a fantasy one. Every minute of gameplay felt engaging, even when playing multiplayer with my friends. Every building, every quest, every puzzle, and even the notes you find along the way only deepen the sense of immersion into ancient mythology and legends. As for the gameplay itself, I didn't encounter any major issues or bugs. And yes, I repeat again, at the time of recording the game is still in early access. Even so, every skill felt unique and unusual. They are relatively well balanced. Each ability has its own purpose and distinct identity, emphasizing a specific type of build. For more variety, every skill can be enhanced with runes similar to Diablo 3, but with the difference that you can add several runes of varying power into available slots depending on how many points you have. As your character progresses, you can also unlock new, more powerful abilities from the skill tree by spending divinity points. Yes, there are some familiar abilities like throwing a boulder or casting fireball, but they look incredibly impressive and impactful. So what about classes? Turns out you can be whoever you want. There are no fixed classes here. Instead there are specializations, aka masteries, similar to something like Last Epoch, and you can combine them however you like. Want to become a rogue mage? Go ahead. In my case, I played a Frost and Lightning mage who deals with groups of enemies from a distance in a very flashy and satisfying way. What surprised me the most is that even your dodge ability can be customized. Combat itself, as I said, feels impactful and responsive. Enemies die in a very satisfying way, the sound effects deliver and can feel the power behind every spell cast. Instead of mindlessly spamming skills, the gameplay encourages you to use dodge, shields and other abilities while also reading the attack patterns on certain enemies and bosses. Speaking of bosses, they turned out quite interesting as well, maybe slightly unbalanced in some cases but still fun to fight. Each boss has its own unique abilities and attack patterns, which you learn to recognize, understanding when to dodge incoming damage and when to strike at the right moment. If your character becomes too strong and you've mastered dodging attacks, you can increase enemy difficulty through a ritual shrine, gaining better rewards and more experience in return. Leveling your character never feels boring. Loot does repeat, but there is neither too much nor too little of it. Blues, yellows, greens, purples, anything you want. Unnecessary items can always be sold, while the most useful ones can be saved for later or equipped to strengthen your character and abilities. There is also a good variety of enemies, especially in later areas, which helps maintain a strong sense of challenge. In general, the game manages to strike a good balance in terms of quality and pacing. It carries a kind of old school formula that still holds up remarkably well today. Of course, it is far from finished at the time of recording this video, but it already looks solid. Titan Quest II avoids overwhelming players with endless layers of mechanics or massive amounts of information right from the start. Instead, everything unfolds naturally, allowing both casual players and veterans to simply enjoy exploration, storytelling, and combat without the constant pressure to follow YouTube guides or dive deep into theory crafting. Of course, no one is stopping you from looking up guides right away and potentially creating a deadly build within the first few hours, but you can also figure things out on your own without spending too much time or carefully reading through every single stat and bonus. And honestly, it feels much more satisfying when you create your own build that actually works and genuinely helps you progress. Basically, Titan Quest II reignited my love for ARPGs. It reminded me that these games aren't about min-maxing builds or chasing perfect gear. They're about adventure, exploration, and natural progression. Maybe my words could apply to other ARPGs that you personally enjoy. In my case, though, it unexpectedly turned out to be Titan Quest II. I didn't experience the same feelings when playing Last Epoch, Grim Dawn, or Torchlight. After spending a few hours with the early access version of Titan Quest II, I realized that my passion for ARPGs was never truly gone. Based on what I've played, I can say that this game already feels fairly polished. It has everything needed to hook players in the beginning, and I didn't encounter any critical bugs or crashes. The core concept and its systems are clear, and it's obvious that the developers are putting real effort into making this a high quality game. What the developers need to focus on right now is simply creating more content, more enemies, more bosses, more interesting quests, more loot, just more variety overall. That's definitely one of the key ingredients for success. However, it is impossible to form a complete picture in this video simply because we haven't seen the endgame content yet. Something tells me it will be more interesting than in Titan Quest I. Maybe some ideas will be borrowed from other modern RPGs, and I don't see anything wrong with that. The most important thing is that the endgame has purpose, that there's meaningful progression after completing the campaign and reaching max level. Personally, I doubt this game will be a failure at launch. And although not every developer manages to properly use the early access model or keep their promises, as was the case for example with Wolfson, Titan Quest II has strong potential for success. Whether you should buy the game now or not, I honestly don't know. That's entirely up to you. You can purchase it now and wait for the full release, or buy it and play through the available content to form your own opinion and spend some time with it, or you can simply wait for the official release. Titan Quest II truly has its own identity, and the developers are clearly trying to create a high quality game. From what I experienced in just a few hours, I felt the vibe of classic fantasy RPGs that don't let you get bored. That's basically everything I wanted to say. This wasn't exactly a full review, more like me sharing my impressions after playing through the available content. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, have a nice day, and stay safe.